Genesis House, FirstNet, built with AT&T, and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. Join your hosts,
Podfather,
Jersey Ed,
and Noontime with Skylar Noon,
as they address the real issues of first responders' health and wellness, from physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance. Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call.
Hey everybody, welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast, sponsored by FirstNet, built by AT&T. Are you out there, Ed?
I am here. I'm listening. I'm fascinated that you do that so well, Podfather. Jersey Ed here, guys. You've been. Really, I know. I call him on the phone. He's driving. Podfather, FirstNet, built by AT&T. How can I help you? FirstNet, built by AT&T. How can I help you?
It's all my calls now. It's on my answering machine.
He has his answering machine at home. Really, Podfather?
Yep. I have it right next to my satellite.
And your cable TV box. Remember those boxes that we used to hit and push the buttons down, right? Remember that?
My VHS.
Your VHS. What was the other one? The Beta player. Remember the Beta
Max.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly. So
the big DVDs, like
that's right.
Yeah. Laser discs. Yep. Good Lord. We're showing our age, guys. What is this, like old timers show here on ATC?
Hey, it's a real pleasure to be able to have a podcast directly for first responders, police, fire, corrections, EMS, veterans. We touch all bases with this podcast, and anybody out there that's looking for help, mental health, substance abuse, stress, anxiety, whatever, we're here for you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Podfather, you mind if I give a couple numbers out before we start?
Why don't you do that before I introduce our guest? Go ahead.
All right, guys. So this is not a helpline. We'll give you the helpline later too. But the phone number to get in contact with us is 617-379-1163. And that's if you want to be a guest on the show, just like Rich is today. Contact us on that line. That's if you want to have any comments or any concerns or anything that you want to get a hold of us. It is not a helpline, guys. It is not answered. If you just leave a recording and we get back to you. I can't stress that enough. Also, help at friendsinrecoverypodcast.com is a place where you can send your email. You can send, Podfather a letter, good or bad, but normally they're always good. But if you also want to be a guest on the show, you can send me, an email that way also. And that is it, Podfather. Like, subscribe, check us out and our Facebook pages, Friends in Recovery, Friends in Recovery. This is usually Skylar stuff. Friends in Recovery Community of Support, or Friends in Recovery Podcast. Answering the Call is our Facebook pages. So
they've been very busy, huh? Friends in Recovery community has been very busy.
Yeah. We're gonna on our other show. You can listen to some of the things that we do. Go over to Friends in Recovery, the podcast, and listen to some of the stuff that we do over there. So
okay.
Podfather, who we have today? Who's that wonderful man sitting next to you?
My good friend, Bob Pacheco. Bob's a deputy superintendent out at the Bilrica House of Correction, Middlesex County Sheriff's Department. He's been there 28 years.
Wow.
He's a supervisor, got great personality, funny guy. He's a new father. He's got a brand new son.
Congratulations.
Jack Pacheco. He's adorable. I'll tell you, what was I going to say? He worked the second shift.
3 to 11.
3 to 11. He's running late today, but he stopped by just to help us out. I think it's important to also know that his girlfriend is
significant other.
That's it.
SO.
Yeah, SO.
SO.
COSO. She's a captain or a lieutenant?
Captain.
She's a captain.
Wow.
Extremely bright woman, personable. Wow. I'll tell you, Kara's she's a real deal, and she's been out there for 14 years.
14 years.
And her and another girl went to the academy. A friend of mine, Athena, and they went to the academy together. And these are two of the best officers you're ever going to meet. I worked there for a short time, 14 months. I know what it takes to work there.
Mm.
Not an easy place to work. And I'll tell you, these girls have, I take either one of them as a partner, hands down. They're just so squared away. But
God,
anyway,
good,
I think it's important to say that because,
good.
you know, people think of corrections, they think of men all the time.
Yeah.
And they work in a men's prison and not an easy place to be. I
Right.
think the inmates are easy for them to handle. It's the CEOs and the upper echelon are tough. But
And it
Well-
looks like he looks like he's a Michigan fan too. Is that what that is there?
Yeah.
you never know what he's going to be wearing. He come in tomorrow, he could have the LA Compton.
Oh,
He's got his Compton hat. Oh yeah,
He puts his hat on
he's
sideways.
all having that. Oh my god, yeah, he does. No, he has a hat, Compton. He really does.
Well, welcome to the show, Rich, Bob, or whoever you are over there. You guy sitting next to the Podfather.
So, talk a little bit about your job, what you do, and how long you've been doing it.
all right. Well, I started off in '93, actually in Cambridge, which is down towards the Boston Garden Museum of Science here. The tall skyscraper. It actually was the jail at the top floor. It's
It's a
above
good
the-
restaurant now, actually. The
Yeah,
Clink.
yeah,
It
They
is.
knows the area.
Yeah,
They
I
knows
do.
yeah,
I do.
Then they closed that down and moved us up here to Bilrica probably about 6 years ago. So I've been on the 4 to 12/3 to 11 for 25 years. And for 3 years, I was 11 to 7 as a caseworker in between. And I
Wow.
got promoted. But no, it's just every day. It ain't like you see on TV, you know, all the stuff goes crazy, you know, all of the beating up images. We don't do anything like that. Get custody and control because no one wants to lose their pension or get sued or stuff like that.
Right.
And 90% of the job is just like verbal judo, just talking to people and
Mhm.
de-escalating people, you know, because
Yeah.
they had a bad day and they're in here, and there's not much more I can do to them. They've already got their freedom taken away, so there's not much more I can do. So
Yeah.
but they try to get them, you know, help and get them back on the street and stuff like that. And they have a lot of
Yeah.
different programs when they started now for staff and inmates. It's, you know, it's light years ahead of when I started and stuff like that.
Mm.
I like the care, custody, and control. You know, and society in general, they're not aware. I mean, they might have a neighbor who's a correctional officer, and they see them coming and going in their uniform, and they really don't have an understanding until you've actually walked into the Middlesex County Sheriff's Department, House of Correction, Borough House of Correction, and paid attention to what's going on. I mean, it's a well-run organization.
Hey, yeah.
Yep. It's a dangerous job, I think. It can be a very dangerous job if you don't have the mindset,
Right.
you know, and I like what Bob just said about verbal judo, you know.
Mm. That's a good analogy. That's really good. Never thought of it that way.
Right. How about the officers? Do you think I know you've had suicides out there. You know, I actually worked there for a short time as a therapist, 3 years
Mhm.
as the EAP coordinator, and one of the officers had committed suicide, young man named Teddy Dillon, nice young man. And it kind of brought everybody together for a short time anyway.
Yeah.
But Bob, if you don't mind, just talk about the stresses of the job. Like,
It's basically, well, my father was a firefighter for 20 something years in Cambridge. He retired, but police and fire, they're two different things because police actually get outside. You can actually deal with the public and see real people. Once we're inside here, we're locked in. We don't have phones on us or nothing like that. We have no weapons at all. So you have to deal with people on a one-on-one basis. Like you said, a lot of them are heat and stuff like that. And then the stresses, you don't know what, you're going to go home tonight, or you're going to get in trouble if you don't do the right thing, by, get suspended or something. So you always have to be on your game, and every day is different. It isn't repetition. You're locked in every day. It's like doing time on the installment plan, like 8 hours at a time.
yep, right,
so
right.
you get to
Yeah,
go home.
good
The inmates or detainees don't, because it's actually a jail / house of correction. So we have a lot of people, like that's what the Cambridge jail was where I worked, that, get arrested. It could be for anything, driving out a license, and they hold them in jail. And so they get out. Or some of the people that got arrested are innocent, so they have their day in court. And then the other people get house time. They get like 2.5 years, stuff like that. But we have like murderers, rapists, stuff like that. But then they go on to like the state correctional system.
Mhm.
So, but
Right.
they're all in the same building.
It's always moving.
Right, it's always moving around.
Right.
And as a supervisor, I have a great staff, but you always got to be leery of, one guy doing the wrong thing, and you're going to get in trouble for it. And ain't just one person does one thing. If one person does not, it affects everybody.
Right.
And the
Mm.
mentality nowadays is people don't think ahead; they think in the moment. They don't think what the grand repercussions are. Like 5 years down the road, you're going to get sued for something that happened, and you forget all about the thing even happened. So you got to use your head every day.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have a correctional officer right now as a client, and he works at a different facility, but he was actually on video with several other correctional officers, putting an inmate, taking him to a cell, and the inmate attacked them. Even though he was handcuffed, people said, well, the news reporter was trying to make it look like, the CEOs weren't telling the truth. They weren't being truthful because they said, well, he's handcuffed. How could he attack them? Well, they don't understand that, that people can be handcuffed and they can still attack you. They can headbutt you. They can slam you into a wall. They can knee you. They can do a lot of things, but I don't think society really understands what a tough job this is. What their perception is. Like a good example, you watch the movie Shawshank Redemption, which is a fabulously made movie. The setting, the actors, everything's good, but that's a jail, that's a prison, that's a real prison where people are doing life, but you might have lifers that actually stop by, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know when I worked there, we had 3 murderers in there. We had the Terry Milan and 2 other brothers. They had killed a doctor in Tewksbury, Dr. Mahoney, his wife and his son, and they stole guns. I mean, these were bad people. It was New Year's Eve. They went into the house, they stole it. They were stealing a gun collection. They killed these 3 people, a family, And when I worked there, they were up in the jail at the time. And, I was just a young guy right out of the army, 22 years old, 23. And it was just, it was eye opening. And I can only imagine, doing that for 30 years. It's got to be stressful.
Yeah.
How do you handle your stress?
Humor mostly.
Yeah.
Humor, travel, cigars,
Yeah.
Like that.
Cigars.
Bob's got a great sense of humor. I mean, he's got to be one of the funniest people I've ever met. But so you do hit it. And Kara,
same way.
Yeah.
She's pretty
Yeah.
straightforward with that.
Yeah.
You just think of everything. You say in the real world, this wouldn't happen, but it is happening. So you can't, wrap your head. Most people couldn't wrap their head around. That's why we don't talk about it like outside because no one will believe what we're telling them, stuff like that. Stuff that goes on, So.
Well, Bob, I like what you said about verbal judo. We had a couple guests on our show, from corrections, and actually our old producer, he gave us a look at from the inmates side of point of view. Yeah. And it seems to me that everybody wants to get along. Everybody's just there to do their thing. Corrections officers, inmates, obviously you got some, people who go off the deep end, but that verbal judo, or I guess that's a good way to say it, or that verbal calming down, or verbal agreement, I guess, agreement against each other, with each other. Listen, this is where I live. This is where I got to stay. This is your job of work. Let's make this easy. I guess that's that contract that you guys have, like unannounced type contract that you guys work together, right?
But if someone has a bad day, if it takes like, hey, can I call my mother or my girlfriend to see if they're coming to visit, something like that, or can I call someone to bail out of here? No, if it doesn't affect, it ain't against the rules. So if you can handle it, you just handle it. You know what I mean?
There you go. Yeah.
So, and then you get the person out of there. Or at least they calm down if they speak to someone.
Right.
I don't lie to them. I try to promise them what I know I can do for them, stuff like that. But most of the people, they're very appreciative. Like I have guys now still coming back from 20 years ago. I was in Cambridge, and they remember me and say, hey, thanks, and looking out for me, stuff like that, and just had a bad turn in life. That's also
Right.
It ain't my job to judge them. It's almost like basically the old westerns, like sheriff or something like that. You hold the guy in the jail until he goes to the court, something like that. It's their job. Their job is to get him to court, and that's it. Make sure
like Mayberry RFD,
Make sure they get to court safely,
No on beat cooking meals, right?
No.
Yeah.
How's the food out there, by the way?
Better than most places.
Right, it was. I remember when I worked there, I was single, and I couldn't wait to go to work just to eat. I'd have like 3 meals in one night.
Well, it's a job that they feed you at, right, guys?
You can order out, they deliver and stuff like that. Bring stuff.
Nice, good. The other thing too, the question I want to ask you about is the not the question, but they're human beings. I like what you said about that, Bob. And you said that they just had a tough break. Most of them did. Most of them, 95% of them just had a bad break. Drugs, alcohol, maybe a mental breakdown. They did something stupid, and but they're just human beings trying to want to get out. And I like that you said that I treat them like a human being, or you said something along those lines. And that is great to understand that. Now, is that training? Is that something? Because
it's training. They don't train you to, like he said, like, drag people out of cells. We don't. That's the last thing we want to do. Is
Okay.
I guess forced cell move. We don't want to get into that stuff. Or
Yeah.
cuffing people and spraying people if we have. We don't want. That's the last thing because it's all reports, and you're always second guess the next day.
Yeah.
And lawsuit. I'm into pension, not suspension.
Let me
That is
write that
good.
down. I like that.
So, no,
As good, all you young guys out there listening,
Yeah.
make sure pension, not suspension.
Right. Especially you have wife or kids, or you're paying, ex-wife. Stuff like that. So I mean, that's what you got to look at that too. You can't afford to lose your job, and they train you this way, especially nowadays. All the stuff they train with, but people just get caught up in the moment. We'll say,
Yeah.
and that's it. But they got to realize that it could be their brother, it could be their uncle, it could be anyone in jail. So would you want someone like treating your uncle with disrespect? Something? No, you wouldn't.
Right,
So
right.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to know, there are like in any field, there are people that are overzealous COs that don't have a lot of respect for the inmates. I mean, they're not going to last there. They're not. Not only are they putting themselves in a bad situation, they're putting their brother and sister officers in a bad situation by acting like an asshole, by treating someone bad.
Yeah.
It's so easy to let somebody make a phone call, to listen to their problem. What's your problem? Well, you need this. I need clean sheets or blankets or whatever. Hey, what's the big deal? Just do it. Because whether they appreciate it or not, it's not really the reason you're doing it. You're just doing it because you'd want it done for you if you were in their position.
Exactly.
Even as a cop, I always went the extra mile to help people because that's kind of why you're there. I mean, there were plenty of people that were complete, vicious, arrogant, mean, violent. I didn't go out of my way for them, but I would definitely try to make the situation easier by if there was something I could do to calm them down, I would do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's good if you can get respect. If you can get respect from people that are doing time that have a lot of other problems, the last thing they need is somebody up their ass giving them a hard time just because they can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Podfather, real quick, we're going to take a break here, and on the flip side of the commercial, let's talk a little bit about how you deal with stress, how you and your wife deal with, or your fiance deal with, coming in and out of the jail. You get to get out of jail, but you are in jail most of your day. So let's talk about the stress of that and how you guys do it as a team and work together.
All right, sounds good.
Podfather.
Hey everyone, we'll be back answering the call. Sponsored by FirstNet, built by AT&T. We'll be right back.
You're first. First to respond. First to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first. That connects you to technology, to each other, and to other agencies. Built with and for first responders. FirstNet. The only congressionally authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting you first is our job.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Answering the call, the First Responders podcast, brought to you by FirstNet, built by AT&T. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles, here with my good friend
Jersey Head guys here,
and Deputy Superintendent Robert Bob Pacheco.
Yes. And real quick, guys, I want to give you a quick phone number here for copline.org. It's 1-800-COPLINE. That's 1-800-267-5463. That's an important number. If there's any problems, any issues, you're not feeling well, you're thinking crazy thoughts, you want to, not live anymore. I don't want to mention the S word, but suicide, guys, that is real part of our lives as first responders. And please call 1-800-COP line, 1-800-267-5463, or go to copline.org. There is a bunch of great volunteers over there who's been there, done it, and survived through it, and or just had those thoughts. They are here to help you guys. So just please, get a hold of that. And then Podfather, we're gonna have Stephanie Samuels on the show who got this this whole line together a couple weeks. So keep looking for that too, and she's going to tell us all about the cop line information. So
can't wait. Yeah, that's yeah. And I know for a fact, people I know a lot of people in corrections and police and EMS, and they offer a discount for EMS workers and first responders, and to have that option to use their product, because you're always going to have it. It's no matter what happens, you're going to have communications, which is important.
Absolutely.
Just think if you didn't have your phone, if you couldn't communicate, at one time we didn't even care. We'd throw a dime in a little phone, dial away. Nowadays, I mean, these are our lifeline. This is what we do every day. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. And then, back to the health and wellness, guys. We spoke before the show. Bob, how do you pronounce your last name, Bob?
Pacheco,
like Chancho, Pacheco,
Right, Dr. Freddie Pacheco. That's Spanish.
Pacheco.
Pacheco is Portuguese.
Pacheco. All right. But Bob is a corrections officer. I'm always fascinated because I am not a first responder, just to let you guys and everybody knows that, kind of, if you're listen to this show. But how do you guys, especially you and your wife, God, Podfather, it was just you in the house as a first responder, but can you imagine coming home with your wife being a first responder? And there has to be some kind of really good open communication, or you guys just hate each other and you slam doors all day long. That would be the other option, I'm guessing. But but how do you guys take care of your health and well-being?
Well, the one thing is going to be that, she's on another shift, so she works days, I work nights, so we'll be swapping off with the baby now.
Oh, okay.
But then, on weekends, Friday, Saturday, she has off, and I have the weekends, and we'll have to make up for it then with take the kid and stuff like that. But the only plus to it is the fact that we know what goes on at work, so we're able to bounce stuff off each other, talk, and she could tell me I can relate to what she's saying and stuff like that. So we're almost on the same page, basically, what goes on and stuff like that. And I know she had a bad day, or if I don't want to talk about something, she knows something happened or something, but it's easy to talk to someone who knows the job usually, so that's the one plus to it, but stress wise, I mean, if people got to see, if people come see Mike, whoever, there's nothing embarrassing about it, nothing wrong about it. If you need to talk to somebody, you talk to someone. That's the way I look at it. Everyone has their own way. If you have to do it, you do it.
Right. Paul Meehan, who was on the show several weeks ago, he was the EAP at the Sheriff's Department. He got overwhelmed. It was just the type of job that you can't walk through the building without somebody, it's out of sight, out of mind. They see you, all of a sudden they have a problem that they were thinking of.
Yeah.
And so Paul couldn't take 3 steps without somebody jumping on him, wanting to tell him his problems. So he got away from that. And I actually ended up with the job.
Right.
And it was great. I enjoyed it. I knew a lot of the people. But I really believe back in my day when I worked there, or even when I was a cop, we didn't have an EAP program. If you had problems, which I did, you kind of just had to navigate through life and find somebody to help you. I was lucky to find people in AA that didn't judge me and help me. But I think now there is a program in place in most places. Some places don't, but most places do have it, because people are understanding that the number one profession with suicide and depression is corrections. The number one profession with people that have marital problems, divorce, is corrections. And
life expectancy went up to 59. I looked at it yesterday.
59
57.
Congratulations.
Right. And the average person's the average white male is going to live to be about 78.
Yeah.
And, that's 20 years. You're looking at 19, 20 years. I mean, Jesus, that's not a good. When you tell a young person coming right out of the academy that it's 22 years old, that means nothing to them.
No.
59, I won't even
That's
make
a
it
long
55.
time. That's an
Right.
old man.
But then you hit 55 and you go, Jesus, that's 4 years away.
Yep.
You know, and I think a lot of people, let's talk about retirement. I think a lot of people retire from that job because you can retire after 20 years,
50% of the pay.
50% of your pay, which sounds good. But if your lifestyle is you're used to working overtime and making some good dough and you retire, I mean, you better have something else to do, right?
Job, yeah.
You know?
You can retire at 40 years old, but then what are you gonna do? Now you gotta start another career all
He's got
over.
another career. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're better off just staying. But
Had you thought of retirement at all? Have you
yeah.
ever- Yep.
They taught before I actually started this job. I get laid off every year, so I had to get a job at benefits.
Right. You were a teacher, right? Right.
Oh,
But you can
wow.
go back to doing that
Yeah, I
if
can
you
go
want.
back to that. but
Yeah.
I just from when I started, and not that, he knows what I'm talking about. I won't mention names, but if someone had a problem, like someone would drop a dime on them while in work, and then the EEP person, they finally had him when I first started working. He'd show up and walk into like the chow hall and go sit next to Mike.
Yeah.
So everyone else on the shift goes, "Hey, he's got a problem." The guy,
Right.
now they've gotten 10 times better. They meet people off the grounds,
Right.
Dunkin' Donuts, they'll go to their house and stuff like that. It's big push for officer wellness now, so which has been very helpful to a lot of people in the department, especially.
Yeah. I like that, officer wellness. That's what we need to hear more and more of, because it's a world apart from you and Podfather, as far as that goes. Podfather just mentioned I had to navigate the system myself. Bob, you said EAP, wellness. There was no officer wellness back when you got sober, Podfather. It was just get on the job. This is what we did. What'd you call choir practice, right? You guys went to choir practice, you drank, and that was it. That's how you guys dealt with it. But now the turnaround and just where it's at with where you're at today, Bob, is amazing. Just completely amazing.
3 decades, it's gone light years ahead now.
Right.
Because you want to offer the inmates all these programs, but you got to offer the staff the programs too, because the staff you need to watch the inmates and stuff like that. So it goes both ways, and they've actually it's been very, very big. Mike and Jane were there for several years, and they were tremendous.
Jay McKeon, she's in the room next door right now, with somebody that doesn't work here, but he's a firefighter from another county.
Right.
But I think it's important when you're in this type of work, counseling, doing therapy, that if you know what you're talking about, in other words, if you've been there, if you've worn a uniform, people trust you more. I mean, it's hard to go see a therapist if you have thoughts of suicide, knowing that you have a license to carry a firearm, whether as a policeman or a correctional officer or a firefighter, and knowing that now you're going to confide in some hippie therapist that's got incense burning and posters of Che Rivera on the wall or Fidel Castro. I mean, they're not gonna, society in general, especially nowadays, they don't look at police or corrections as role models. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a cop standing in the middle of Minnesota, a town in Minnesota right now, Ferguson, Missouri, or someplace, because you know what? They get no respect. They just took over a town, where Floyd was murdered. They took over a section of that town. They're not letting police in there. What country are we living in? Are we in Russia? I mean, this to me is so disturbing. And we have an administration that sits there, do nothing about it. This is changing the face of America. I just want to say that the color of someone's skin should not decide whether the police are going to go in and help the people that are living there. That to me is just completely bogus, and it's got to change, because if it doesn't change one way, it's going to change another, and it won't be good.
Not to question the police, there's a lot one, but there's where I come up with the big picture. So George Floyd, he had a fake $20 bill. I mean, is it worth all that for a fake $20 bill? Call the Secret Service, let them deal with something like that.
Right.
And then,
Look where we're at.
Yeah, well, who's the other guy that they shot? He stole a candy bar.
Yeah,
the guy in
Big
New
Mike.
York City, they choked him out for loose cigarettes. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's the biggest problems in America or the world today.
Right. So, but people are fed into it. They're fed into it like it's like it happens all the time. It doesn't happen all the time.
No.
The media
The media is who I blame for a lot of
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a lot more good things that had happened with the first responders than there are bad. Listen,
Oh,
exactly.
bad things are going to happen no matter what. It's just part of life, and
Right.
you know. But we also have to keep an eye on it. We have to keep vigil about it too, and make sure that we're not
Absolutely.
doing the same mistake over.
That's right.
And of course, you know, make sure that that officer or whatever didn't go
Right.
too far.
Right.
Not that I'm sticking up for the bad guys, but
No.
there are bad guys in every profession.
Absolutely.
If it's cops, if it's robbers, if it's you know, Home Depot workers, whatever it is, there's going to be a bad
Right.
guy in every profession. There really is. So, you
Well,
know.
I look at what's going
Turn
on
your mat
now.
off, steal your money.
Right. In New York with Governor Cuomo. I mean, never mind the infidelity or whatever, all the things he's being accused of. Just look at the nursing home deaths and what he did, and the arrogance of this man to go on and not even want to take any responsibility for putting people with COVID into nursing homes, where they were the most vulnerable of people that are going to catch this, which they did and died, which they did.
Right.
And you know what? Where is the government? Where are these people that are screaming Black Lives Matter? What about elderly lives matter? What about your grandparents that weren't that excuse me, they needed some help. They didn't need to go to a nursing home to die because as a result of COVID. And you know what? No one does a thing about it. It's amazing to me that this is the country we're living in now.
Not just that, they just cut off your nose and spite your face.
Yeah,
with it.
right.
Trump's not, Trump, but not like fanatic like some people, but they sent a Navy ship into the harbor and they opened up the Jacob Javits Center to put these people in, and they put 2 people in the place.
Right. They didn't want to use it because he sent them
Because he
in.
sent
Right,
them,
right.
his name was on
Yeah, I
it.
know, it's crazy.
So
It's
I-
crazy.
so-
You know, the world. I mean, listen, we can't all
Right.
can't all agree on the same thing all the time, every
Yep.
time. But you know, I think what we have to do for wellness of everybody is kind of look at what's the middle. How
Right.
can we meet in the middle?
Have
My
a meeting.
views, your views,
Yeah.
and let's make the right decision for everybody, because everybody's on different sides of the aisle, and that's okay. That's how this country works. But when there's somebody, you know, when we have to start making decisions, and this is just my opinion, when we have to start making decisions, we need from both sides so we can make one good decision. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
But there's really no
Um,
happy medium right now, because
No, there's not.
it's
And
you
that
said the
won't-
media, but when I was growing up, we never had these real problems, stuff like that,
Nope.
race problem, anything like that.
Nope.
And political stuff was never, I don't care if you're a Democrat, whatever you
Doesn't
are.
matter,
It's
right.
your right to be that way. And I can accept your opinion, your whatever you
Right,
have.
right.
Perfect example, I'll date myself, the Michael J. Fox show. The mother and father real liberals, and he was an ultra conservative
Yeah,
Ronald
Yeah,
Reagan guy.
yeah.
They all get along, and some
People
people
were laughing
were.
about
And
it,
now it's
right.
like they're
Right.
trying to taint people and push them into a corner and label them a certain name, and it shouldn't be
Right.
done that way.
We need more shows like that. I'm glad you brought that up. We need more
Right.
shows like that
Yeah.
so
Right.
people can live under the same roof the same way. You know
Both
what I mean?
sides of the, get both sides of the story.
Right.
Yeah,
I have a,
yeah.
In the
Why
middle's
not?
where, truth's at.
right.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
a daughter.
Yeah.
I have a daughter and a sister who are very, very liberal, and they wanted if I had a Trump T-shirt on it, they'd go crazy, like kiddingly, But Dad, people are gonna laugh at you. People are gonna think you're an idiot, and I'm like, well, they probably already do, but you can handle it. But I really think I'm just hoping for these next 4 to 8 years, whatever's going on, that this can get under control.
Right.
Because when you have a job in uniform and you have to go to work and stop and get gas, or your neighbors know what you do, you should not be labeled because one person made a horrible decision.
Yeah.
We're going to change all of policing because of one police officer. What are you kidding me?
No.
If we're going to do that, let's change all our government, because you got a governor in New York who's, you couldn't find a worse guy as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? He's still there. So
Silver spoon.
And
silver spoon.
Living off his father's name.
yes, exactly. And that's so true, Podfather. We have to. I don't know. There's no right or wrong. We're this show is going to close up here in a minute or two, and we're not going to solve the world's problems. We're just giving our views, and this is nobody else's views. This is just individual kind of us kind of trying to think things through, and that's what we have to do. Think things through, just like you said at the beginning of the show. Bob, that sometimes we make a dumb decision and you end up where you shouldn't be. You know what I mean? And you just have to help these people get to where they're at. And I'm not talking about death or whatever, but I'm just talking about, drugs, alcohol, and your inmates end up there. And but we have to fix things. You know, we can't be against each other our whole lives, and we have to fix things. And racism is real, and sexism and all that stuff is real. It really is real out there. And
Certainly.
let's just come to
Certainly is.
an agreement. And I would love to abolish it all. I'd love to get rid of everything and just live happily ever after. But you know what? That's not going to happen.
real,
That's
right.
the fucking fantasy world, you know.
Well, I'll just say this, our audience for answering the call, the First Responders podcast, sponsored by FirstNet, built by AT&T. Most of our listeners will be agreeing with what we're saying because they have to wear the uniform. I guarantee you there's a cop, there's a fireman, there's a correctional officer, there's an EMS, ambulance attendant, whatever, that has been looked at, frowned on, talked bad about, maybe even spit out or assaulted because they're wearing a uniform with a badge or with an emblem or with a U.S. flag on it. And you know what? What does that say to the future generation who might want to? When I was a kid, everybody wanted to be a cop or a fireman. All my friends, what are you going to do when you get older? I want to be a cop. I want to be a fireman. Someday, nobody, even right now, these academies, they can't fill them. You can't get enough people. Nobody wants to put their neck out there. The armed services, same thing. 1% of society joins the armed services to protect this country of ours. Less than 1%. And you know what? The government still can't treat these veterans properly, give them what they need. They can give millions and billions of dollars to other countries that has nothing to do with us, but they can't take care. I have vets, I have clients that live on a paycheck monthly that can barely get by. And they gave 3 or 4 years of their lives in Vietnam, in Korea. It's very disturbing. But we're here for you.
Good.
We're here for you. One more question before we go. I just
Hey,
want
Mike, is that the microphone? Put that down. It's making a really awful noise.
I just want. So, Bob, you have a future, a couple more years. What's your plan?
We got at least 2 to get to 55,
Yep.
and then probably a little bit longer than that. I'd say, probably like 57.
Right. And your lovely, significant other, Kara. I mean, you're going to make sure she keeps working,
Oh,
right?
yeah, she'll at least 5. Get to 20.
Kara, you watching this?
'Cause I'll be gone to get 2 minutes, right?
No, I'll tell you.
Definitely reach out.
Well, you're a lucky man. You have a beautiful little son, and you have 2 daughters as well.
Right, yep.
Yep. And you have a beautiful fiance, significant other. I saw the diamond. It's in the car. It's beautiful. It's like 3 carats or something.
Well, that overtime he's working.
I just want to say I know Bob pretty well. We smoke cigars. We talk. His personality. If you could bottle his personality and the way he looks at life and the way he talks and handles people, you know what? We'd all be better off if we could take a dose of that every day. And I mean,
Amen. That's what we need. Well, guys, this has been a good show. Bob, thank you so much for coming on. And it's just amazing. Podfather, great guest. Just stay safe in your work over there. We appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Podfather.
Answering the call, the First Responders podcast, sponsored by FirstNet, built by AT&T. Stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe, guys.
That concludes this episode of Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. Thanks to Genesis House, FirstNet, built with AT&T, for supporting those on the path to recovery and keeping this valuable resource free for all our friends in recovery. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Brought to you by Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery. If you can't get enough of Mike, the Podfather, Jersey Ed, and Skylar, you can catch them on Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and GenesisHouse.net.